What is motion under gravity? Motion under gravity is the motion of an object thrown upwards, or the motion of an object falling from a height. Why is it called motion under gravity? It is called motion under gravity because the motion of an object thrown upwards is under the influence of gravitational force. Also, the motion of an object falling from a height is under the influence of gravitational force. And that is why when an object is thrown upwards, that object moves to a certain height and then stops before moving downwards. Why? Because the gravitational force acting on the object thrown upwards is acting against the motion of that object. That is why the speed with which that object is moving decreases until at a height the object stops moving before coming downwards. Also, an object falling from a height experiences gravitational force, but the gravitational force tends to increase the motion and the speed of that object. That is why any object that is falling from a height, the speed of that object continues increasing until the object falls to the ground. And what causes the increment in the speed of that object? Gravitational force. So an object thrown upwards and also an object falling from a height, both objects experience a force called gravitational force, and they are performing a motion called motion under gravity. And there are equations that govern motions under gravity, and the equations are three in number. The first equation is V equals U plus or minus GT. I will still explain the parameters, what the variables are. The second equation is V squared equals U squared plus or minus 2GH. The third equation is H equals UT plus or minus half GT squared. So these are the equations of an object performing motion under gravity. V in these equations, V means final velocity of the object. U means initial velocity of the object performing motion under gravity. G means acceleration due to gravity. H is height attained by the object. So there are two velocities of an object performing motion under gravity. The initial velocity and then the final velocity. Then G is the acceleration due to gravity, and it is always 10 meters per second. The value of G is always 10 meters per second. Then H is the height attained by the object. Then for this equation, there is plus and also there is minus. This one there is plus and also there is minus. This one there is plus and also there is minus. Plus is used when the motion is falling, when the object is falling from a height. So when the object is falling from a height, if you want to use this equation, then the equation may be V equals U plus GT when the object is falling from a height. But if the object is thrown upwards, then negative sign is used. Why? Because the motion of the object is retarded. In other words, it is deaccelerating. It is decreasing until at a height the object stops moving before falling downwards. So if the object is thrown upwards, use negative sign. But if the object is falling from a height, use positive sign. The question on the board says that a cricket ball is thrown vertically upwards with an initial velocity of 40 meters per second. Find A, the maximum height attained, B, the time taken to reach it. So whenever a problem is given in physics, the first thing to do is to write out the variables or the parameters. So what are the parameters given? The first parameter given is the initial velocity, which is represented by the symbol U. So initial velocity of the cricket ball when thrown upwards is 40 meters per second. And then we are asked to calculate the height. Height attained by the cricket ball is question mark. That's the variable we are to calculate. And another parameter is G, because any object performing motion under gravity experiences acceleration due to gravity. Either it experiences acceleration due to gravity or it experiences deceleration or retardation due to gravity. So G here is retardation. So retardation equals 10 meters per second square minus 10 meters per second square. That is the value of G, which is retardation or deceleration. Then the final velocity V is 0. Why? Because at maximum height, the velocity of that object thrown upward is 0. From day-to-day activities, you will find out that whenever an object is thrown upwards, the speed with which that object is thrown upwards continue decreasing until the object reaches a maximum height where the speed is what? 0. In other words, the final velocity is what? 0 before the object starts falling downwards. So the final velocity of the upward motion of the cricket ball is what? 0. And there are 3 equations that govern motion under gravity, and they are V equals U plus or minus GT. V squared equals U squared plus or minus 2GH, and then H equals UT plus or minus GT squared. These are the 3 equations of motion under gravity. Now, from these parameters, we find out that this equation can't be used. Why? We are looking for the variable height. This equation doesn't have a variable called height, so this equation can't be used. This equation has variable called height, yes, and it has final velocity V, which is 0. It has value for G. Also, it has initial velocity. So this equation can be used. Let me check whether this equation can be used. Height, there is height here. U there is u here, t, which is time. There is no variable called time here. So this equation can be used. Therefore, this second equation is the equation that we can use to calculate the maximum height of the cricket ball. So formula is v squared equals u squared minus not plus, because the motion is an upward motion. So the sign to use is negative sign, minus 2gh. Substitute values, I have v is 0. 0 squared equals, what's the value of u? 40. 40 squared minus 2 times value of g is 10 times h, because height is the parameter we are calculating for. So 0 squared is 0. 0 equals to 40 squared is 40 times 40, which is 1600. Minus 2 times 10 is 20. Then h. Collecting like this, I have 0. 1600, when it crosses the equality sign, it becomes minus 1600 equals minus 20h. Therefore, minus 1600 equals minus 20h. Negative sign cancel negative sign. I have 1600 equals 20h. For height to be alone, divide both sides by 20. 20 cancel 20. Therefore, height is equals to 0 cancel 0. 2 divide itself 1. 2 divide 16, 8. 2 divide 0, 0. Height is 80 meters. So the maximum height attained by the cricket ball is 80 meters. So the second question says, calculate the time taken to reach the maximum height. The time taken to reach the maximum height. And these are the equations governing motion under gravity. So this first equation has a variable called time. So let me check whether I can use this equation to calculate time. V, there is value for V, there is value for U, and there is value for G. So I can use equation 1 to calculate the time taken for the object to reach maximum height. Therefore, formula is V equals U minus GT. Remember, the motion is an upward motion. So, for upward motion, use negative sign. For downward motion, use positive sign. Therefore, substitute values, V is 0. Put equality sign. U is 40. Minus value of G is 10. Then times T. 0 equals 40 minus 10t. Collect like terms. 0, when 40 crosses equality sign, it becomes minus 40. So 0 minus 40 equals minus 10t. Negative, okay, minus 10t. Therefore, minus 40 equals minus 10t. Negative sign cancels negative sign. 40 equals 10t. For time to be alone, divide both sides by 10. Therefore, time equals 4 seconds.